This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance. What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now. I'm here with Scott McIver from Kaizen Tuning in Boxborough, Massachusetts. Scott, how's it going?
How's it going, Reed? Excited to be here.
Right on. So, first off, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Sure. My business is Kaizen Tuning. We do import tuning for the GTR, EVO, and Subaru markets, and we've got a 10,000 square foot facility out here outside of Boston, up in the Northeast. And myself, I got into this business as like a hobbyist, enthusiast, and building cars and in my barn and putting them together. And you know, I got started in this thing. I would say the roots of it were all the way back to when I was a kid. I used to race RC cars and convert off-road cars to on-road and all that kind of stuff. And I loved things that were fast. And you know, I started to really kind of get interested in things. My dad took me to Japan when I was 14 years old back in 1998. And I was really interested in the culture and the whole vibe over in Japan. And that just kind of blended itself into things that were fast, right? So I started to check out the cars and I really started to like them. And then, you know, through college, I was racing mountain bikes and, you know, things that are mechanical and fast once again and dangerous. And, you know, just like things that were going quick and mechanical.
Have you always been a hands-on guy?
I have not. So basically, you know, my start in business was, you know, my family owns a very large CNC machinery company. And after school, I went to work for my dad. And you know, after school and during summers, I was cleaning the floors and cleaning machines and pulling chips out of machines and trying to learn all that I could, because again, those machines are mechanical and fast, and I had a affinity towards them.
Right.
And so, you know, my dad kind of started me from the very bottom, working a crane, and you know, then I got into service. I really liked that. I liked being able to fix things. I liked things that were mechanical that I could, when I went home at night, I would say, "Hey, Dad, I fixed that," or I've overcame that problem. Yeah. And that was cool to me, and it was rewarding. So, you know, I did the service thing, and then my dad kind of pulled me out of service and went into sales, and I had to learn how to do that for a while.
And are you selling business to business then?
Yeah, it's B2B. So basically, I was on the inside sales team, which would be selling literally to another dealer.
Okay.
But, you know, you quickly learn what kind of questions to ask and learn about selling technically, specs and everything else. And it really kind of blended over to the car stuff really well. So in 1998, you know, I was in the sales department and doing my thing, and my dad sent me over to Japan again for the first time by myself. And that was kind of an eye-opening experience because I had some free time. So I went down to Ginza, which is like this big shopping area where there's like, you know, crazy lights, and it's just total sensory overload in that spot. And Nissan has a little showroom there. It's just one car, and it was one blue car up on like a rotisserie, right? And I walked up to the glass, and I was like, holy shit, I've never seen a car anything like that. It was brutal looking. yet sexy. And so I walked in, and the lady at the front gave me the brochure, but it wasn't a brochure like we get in the States. It was a hardbound book. And on the front of it, it said Nissan GTR. So I walked in there, and little did I know, I'm looking at an R34 GTR. And I sat there and looked at that car for 3 hours. And I promised myself that one day I was going to own one of these things. I was going to work my ass off, and for my dad, and I'm going to be able to afford one of these cars. And ever since then, it really kind of, I really started to follow everything, watching, picking up every hyper rev known to man and collecting that stuff and watching videos of mines versus, Amuse and all kinds of stuff like that. And then in 2001, my dad passed away suddenly and basically left me in charge of 300 plus employees. I was 26 years old. And in 2001, it was May 2001. And by the time I actually, was able to get my head around losing my dad, the planes hit the building in New York, and, the business collapsed. We had to do layoffs and everything else, and that was really tough.
Wow.
It sucked. And so, there was a ton of stress, and what do I fall back on but something mechanical and fast to get me through it? So I went out and I bought a Supra, 98 twin turbo Supra, and I started playing with that. Actually, another guy in the industry helped me out with that, John Dranis down in SoCal. And, we started playing with that thing, and all of a sudden, being able to relax got more exciting, and I started street racing and got in a lot of trouble because, you're dealing with grief and everything else, and you're trying to forget it. And, I got in a bunch of trouble and, was being an asshole on the street and stuff like that. And I don't recommend anyone doing that because it took a while to get out of it, and decided that I needed to do that kind of thing on the track. And at that time, I took over the company, so I was making pretty good money getting out of the financial problems, and started buying some Corvettes and Subarus, and had sort of car ADD for a while. I finally settled on an M3 race car, and did a ton of tracking with that. Nothing competitive, just going out and learning. And but the thing was that when I was on the track, I wasn't thinking about, problems with our family business. I was thinking about what was right in front of me, what the car was doing, and whatnot. And that to me was relaxing. I was in my zone, and I liked being there. But the other problem was that nothing that I owned was a GTR. It kept going back to that blue car that I saw back in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And that car was the fucking balls, right? So, fast forward, 2007, Nissan finally, gets their head out of their ass when it comes to, their company, and Carlos took over the company and brought out the new GTR, and I was the first one on the list. Even though the first prototype was kind of this weird looking thing, I'm like, if it says GTR and they're going to bring it to the States, I want one. Mm-hmm. And in July 2008, I received the car finally, and I was really excited. The newspaper was there and stuff, and they did a horrible interview with me. I just totally blew the interview. It was horrible. But I drove the car off, and at that time they're super nervous about this car in the States, and so they had you come back at 150 miles to kind of go over the car again. So I brought the car back to Nissan, and I'm in a suit and tie and stuff like that. And they had no idea how to treat a guy that just bought a $100,000 car. None, zero. They treated you like you bought a Sentra because that's what they were used to. And I was super disappointed because in Japan, GTR owners have their own spot they drive into. You don't even need an appointment. And the guy comes running out and starts bowing to you and asks you what you need. And I didn't expect that, but I expected not to have oil stains and kitty litter all over the inside of my hard-earned car.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this stinks. Like, these guys have no idea how to do this.
And this is at the dealership, obviously.
Yeah, this is at the dealership. So I'm like, you know what? I can do this. I had a lift in my barn, and I knew how to work on cars. And so in that time, GTRs, there were probably only a couple hundred of them in the States and probably less than 100 in the Northeast. And I'm like, and I knew everybody around here that had one. And I'm like, guys, I know you guys are all feeling the same thing, that, you go to the dealership and you're treated like crap. How about we start coming to my house and we'll start, doing the service there. And it worked. And all of a sudden I had 5 GTRs sitting in my driveway. And my wife one day kind of looks outside and she's like, honey, if the barn burns down, like, I don't think insurance is going to cover it, $500,000 of cars.
Minor detail. Minor detail,
right? You don't really think about that when you're starting. So I'm like, well, we're going to have to make this work. And that's where kind of Kaizen was born. I knew I was on something there. And after that, I moved into a board role at the family company, and I could start running Kaizen Tuning full time. And we moved, heavy into GTR. And that's where we started our business because we knew we had something there, and moved from there to Mitsubishi and Subaru and, Infiniti Gs and Zs, and eventually into, Audi stuff with APR. And that's how we kind of got started.
I gotcha. So you're mainly a tuning shop offering services, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, we offer services for sports cars. We call, of course, these cars sports cars. But we offer everything from basic oil changes all the way up to engine builds, building Alpha 12, AMS Alpha 12 cars. We have a dyno in-house here now. We have a DynoJet link system here, and we built a building 2 years ago, around our business that started literally in my garage.
So your services, are they all custom work, or are they like product-based installations? So are they platform installations from manufacturers like AMS?
So when we started partnering with companies like AMS, and they've been a huge help to us. After a time, we found that there was a place in our market that we could start producing fabricated products. So we started producing our own products for cars like the EVO and the GTR, to kind of hold our own destiny in our hand. Not to say that other people's products aren't incredible, and AMS and Tomei and all the HKS and all the other guys that we sell make incredible products. But sometimes, I put a lot of pride and work and engineering into the products that we sell because we saw a niche and we went after it.
Can you explain one of those niches?
Sure. So EVO 10 is a great niche for us. It's our sort of bread and butter car, because we got into this late where, the EVO 8 and 9 had kind of already come and passed. And so we went out and bought one, and we tested it, and we put a bunch of AMS parts on it, a bunch of Tomei parts, a bunch of HKS parts, and we took it to the racetrack and we tested it. And they worked awesome, and we went out and we sold all those products. And then, it came to my realization that, some customers want an upper intercooler pipe that's one piece or a special color, or they want a one-piece lower intercooler pipe. And then that morphed into, what if we do a better engineered intake? Okay, so we went after the intake market. And then we went after, there was a space that a twin-tip exhaust would be maybe a good place to go because AMS doesn't have one. And the ones that come from Japan are kind of pricey. So we made a investment, and we went after that market as well. It worked out really well.
So those products, do you sell them B2B or business to consumer? And if they're business to consumer, is it all through your local market, or do you have distribution, to dealers or customers, worldwide?
We do have, most of it is business to consumer. We do have a couple of good dealers around the country. We have sold product all over the world, from Malaysia to the Middle East to even Japan and Australia. But most of it has been business to consumer, straight through us. One of the things I really need to work on is putting together a dealer network, because we're getting, my bandwidth is starting to become used up. We can only sell so much through our channels, and having additional channels would certainly be able to help us, get more product out in the street.
Right. So most of your sales, though, of your own product then are done through your shop, like installed, or would you say most of them are
50-50?
Okay.
Obviously, for us, it's a home run when we can sell our product. We can make our product in-house and tune the product in-house. That we consider, a home run. We know how to tune our product very well, and we make the margin that we want to make on it. Most of it, I would say about 50% of it is sold through our showroom here, and the other half is probably sold over the internet through forums and things like that.
Oh, okay. Not through your online store necessarily. I actually didn't check. Do you have an active e-commerce site?
Yes, and it's horrible, and it's something that we're working on right now. That's one of my goals for this year, is to get a really good e-commerce site up and going. The one we have now is super clunky for us to use on the backside.
Okay.
And that's a piece of advice I would probably give someone is, when you put an e-commerce site together, make sure that it's easy to use from the consumer and from you to put in products, because otherwise it just becomes a huge task, and it'll literally eat up a whole day to put 10, 15 products into your web store.
Mm-hmm. So one question that I've got for you is about staff. Mm-hmm. When you were building your business and you decided to take this on full time and really turn it into Kaizen Tuning, how do you find good staff, and more importantly, how do you keep them?
Finding good staff in the Northeast is extremely tough. There is not a great pool of guys that have worked in the aftermarket business up here. So we look for good attitude first, and then we can train the technical side. We're working right now on actually putting a database together inside our business, so that we can have how to put an EVO 10 clutch in, and the tech can go ahead and pull up. Okay, this is how you do it. I'm going to need this, and this, and these tools need to be in my cart and ready to go and whatnot. So we can train the tech side, but having the attitude to do what we do day in and day out, and having the stress of putting on aftermarket parts that maybe don't necessarily fit on the car, it's a real challenge, because dealer techs, they're pulling a Toyota part out of a piece of plastic and sticking on a car. It's going to work.
Yeah, 100% of the time. We have a rule around here that things fit 80% of the time.
It's true.
That's about it.
It's true,
because the aftermarket, the problem is we've got an aftermarket part over here and an aftermarket part over here, and maybe one part would have fit if everything else was stock, but the two things together don't fit.
Don't fit, and it doesn't matter if it's the best aftermarket company in the world. Sometimes it just doesn't fit, and dealership techs, they have a really hard time with that in my experience. So it takes finding a guy with a really good attitude to be able to kind of ride out the bumps, someone that's maybe not so intense, and obviously has to have a love for what we do, has to have that same driving passion and fire that guys like you and I had when we started in this business,
right, and
still do.
For sure.
How you keep them? We hear we do a lot with benefits. And I make the investment in benefits because I think my employees deserve it. We do fully paid benefits here after you're here for a certain amount of time, like 6 months. And that's huge because the tech then, or the sales guy or our accountant, they know that this is a career, and this place is here to stay. And I make the investment into their future by offering these benefits. That's how we retain our people, and that's how you have to retain the talent. It's not just hourly rate. It can't be about just that. And some people have a hard time seeing past that. Those are the people that you don't want to hire. The people that you want to hire are the people that understand that you're making an investment in their future.
Right. So the interesting thing that I find is that service is scalable, I guess, to some sort of a limitation, because service has a couple different limitations. One of them is just your geographic area, meaning there's only so many people in a particular area. And then it's literally about how many hours you can bill in a day, and there's only so many of those. So the only thing that's really scalable, I guess, is more hands.
That's correct.
So more technicians, more bays. What's the size of your staff?
So we've got 4 technicians.
Full-time techs.
Full-time techs, and like you just said, unless you have a system in place, you can only ask your guys to work more hours. There's a certain amount of bandwidth you can put through your shop. Here, we have systems in place so that we can get a little bit more bandwidth. But on the service side of our business, to get more throughput equals more staff, and we only have so much space to put them in.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really searching on how we can get more throughput through our shop with not adding as many people. And I think that carries over to a lot of different styles of business, from CNC machines to making widgets to whatever. We want to make more profit with less people, and we've gotten to the point now where we've got the amount of people I want to have. We've got 12 people total in our business. And now it's how do we drive the business, and how do we put systems in place to get maximum amount of throughput through the people that we have.
So I feel like to maximize the customers that you have and make sure that each customer and each job has no wasted time, or the least amount of wasted time, you have to fire certain customers, and you have to say no to certain types of work. Would you say that that's something that you guys do? If the wrong kind of customer or the wrong request is asked of your guys, do they know that, hey, that's not the kind of work that we do, so no, I can't help you? Or is it yes to everything?
That is a huge hurdle to get over when you start your business.
Yeah, right? Because you don't want to watch them walk away.
That's a mistake that I made so many times, Reed. In the beginning, you just want to say yes to everything and everybody that comes through the door. For instance, we're a GTR shop, and one of my customers had, like a second generation Eclipse, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll work on that thing. That was a huge mistake because I knew nothing about that car. And, I muffed the job up and blew the timeline by like a month. Mm-hmm. Luckily, the customer is still a customer of ours today, but, you need to learn how to say no to things. And that is super hard, and there's no way to teach you. You kind of have to learn it as a business owner the hard knocks way, like you and I did, where, you need to say yes to a few bad projects and learn that you can't do that going forward, because it's going to hurt your business.
Yep.
And, I was actually going to talk about firing customers, because that's something that I'm not great at. And it was something that really hurt our business at one point, where we had a customer come in and, we built them a Subaru, and I should have known, because the Subaru came here on a flatbed with like half of its motor parts in like boxes in the back, and that's never a good thing. I should have started waving the white flag and saying maybe you need to go someplace else. But we took the project on because we had just bought a new building, and this guy was pretty well connected in the community and everything else. So we took the project on, and it turned into a nightmare because when we delivered the car, the guy wasn't being honest with us about problems he was having with his car. And it came to the point where I'm like, listen, you're not being honest with us anymore. I think it's time that you don't come back. And that turned into a huge pissing match, and the guy tried to go out and ruin our name. And we learned.
So that's a perfect segue. I'm sorry I have to interrupt you here, but I want to ask you the worst experience that you've had in business. And I feel like already we've been tipping the iceberg with 2 different situations that were really tough for you to overcome.
Yep.
Can you dive into that worst situation that you've had in business and explain how that felt, what you did about it, and what it meant for you and your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So this Subaru customer went out and tried to ruin our name. And that's one of the problems with having the internet these days is everyone reads it on the internet and assumes it to be true. And what I learned from that experience is that we didn't go out and actively attack him point by point, right? He had his own story, and we had ours. And it was kind of up to whoever was reading whatever this was, the review or whatever, to make his own judgment, right? And the web forums are great, but they kind of rely on drama. So the more drama they can generate, the better, because that means more views and whatnot. So, I didn't do a good job at bringing up facts and no bullshit stuff on this guy to kind of fight it. I didn't fight it. And I made that mistake, and it hurt our business. So
what was your response?
My response was...
And how did it hurt your business?
Yeah, so my response was to talk to the customer personally, right? Like, hey, I don't think that you're going about this the right way. And, you weren't being honest with us, and now you're not being honest with the public, right? But that was happening over Facebook and emails and stuff like that. It wasn't happening in the public eye, because I just didn't want to bring myself to his level. And, people believed him. We're a fairly large shop here in the Northeast, and people wanted to throw some dirt at us, and they believed it. And so some of the Subaru community walked away from us, and that forced us to kind of look at our business and how we are dealing with customers and saying, okay, well, that didn't work all that well. How can we improve? So we went back and we decided that when we need to be better at saying no to a customer coming in the door. That's the first thing you need to do. And my tuner Rob was really good about telling me, hey, you should have known right out of the bat that, the back of that car is full of bark mulch because the dealer probably pushed it out the door with their feet, and into a curb, and the entire motor is in the back seat of the car. We should have known at that point that probably wasn't a Kaizen tuning project. And so, over the last couple of years, we've kind of made our way back into the Subaru community and whatnot. But, it took a while, and we learned a lot from it.
It's a tough one for sure. It's hard to watch customers walk away. It's hard to say no to projects when you're trying to build momentum. But a lot of times I think you got to trust your gut. And if it's not a good fit for you and your team, then you're going to have to say no, and it's all for the better. Allow you to do things that you're better at.
Yep, and that is so hard to do sometimes. Cause,
that's so true, right? Easy to talk about, but hard to do.
You're seeing the money signs, right? You're seeing the money symbols, and you're like, man, that would be a nice paying job if we could get it out in a timely basis. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can just fit it in. Don't do that. Do what you're good at. and keep doing what you're good at. And if you do want to do something new, make a company-wide effort at it.
So, Scott, when you were building your business and now even, do you doubt yourself or ever think, what if this doesn't work? How do you deal with the devil on your shoulder?
I doubt myself all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I even, like, a good example is when we do, like, open houses and stuff here, I even doubt myself if people are going to show up. You know, and I'm like, the day before, I'm like sweating bullets, or like at 3 o'clock in the morning, my wife's looking at me like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, even today, I'm like, you know, I don't know if anyone's going to show up. I think it's a natural thing to doubt yourself. You know, I remember when I bought my first dyno, I bought a Dyno Dynamics all-wheel drive dyno, and that was like the biggest investment I've ever made in our little business. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, what if no one wants to get tuned here? What do I do with this $100,000 piece of equipment? You know, but you know, I think the doubt makes you work harder, and you know, it makes you think through the scenarios, and move forward. And in the end, you know, it doesn't really matter what people think. It matters what you're thinking, and the systems you have in place, and, you know, moving forward.
Totally agree. You know, it's really funny about self-doubt, because I've been in business for 10 years, and I still wake up in the morning on Monday morning and I have a little, you know, glitch in my stomach, you know?
Totally.
10 years, and still every Monday morning I still wonder, is this the last Monday? Like, is the phone not going to ring? Is everything going to come crashing down? Like, that's the narrative that plays in my head still on Monday mornings. It's really interesting that I still have that, you know, but I don't let it take control over me.
You can't.
You know, you just keep showing up, and then 2 hours into the day, everything's rocking and rolling, and you're like, what? This doesn't even make sense. Like, that thought just, I don't know why that's there, but it's, you know, they call it resistance. It's resistance just telling you, you know, it's just there beating you down, and why is it there? Who knows? But you got to just keep going.
I think that's why doing it for a living is such a great thing, because, you know, I can listen to, you know, Martin at AMS, and when he was growing his business, he had the same self-doubts that I do, and that you do. And, you know, we're all made of the same metal. We're all made of the same, you know, everyone puts their pants on the same way in the morning.
Yeah, one leg at a time.
You got it. And, you know, we're all going to have self-doubts when you wake up in the morning on Monday, and, you know, is that customer going to show up? You just have to be able to ride the wave out.
Yep.
And, you know, fill your day with building your business.
Good stuff. So we talked about all that no fun stuff. How about something cool that you have going on right now?
All right.
Tell us something that you're doing right now that has you fired up.
I've got something going on here that is really cool. So we've got a really good road racing base here in New England. We've got tons of tracks, and it doesn't make any sense, right? Because we've got tons of snow. And I'm not 1,000% sure how these tracks can actually operate. You know, like places like Road Atlanta that doesn't get any snow at all. We've got lots and lots of great road racing tracks up here, and one of them opened last year with sort of a country club business model, where you can buy a membership. And we went ahead and bought a membership because I love to go out on the track and test cars and push my limits. Like I talked about in the beginning of the interview, it's someplace that I don't have to think about Kaizen tuning. I don't have to think about what's wrong today. And I want to be able to share that with my customers. So we actually invite our customers as our guests to come out and check out the road course. It's kind of like an open track day. And we actually bring down our sponsored drivers that run our race cars to instruct. And so they hop in the right seat, and they go out with our customers. And let's say we bring 10 customers down. Maybe half of them have never been to the track before. And we kind of give them the bug.
Yeah.
And it has absolutely been hugely successful for us, because all of those customers are buying brakes, or they're coming here for tech inspections, or if maybe they're getting their butt kicked by a GTR, they'll move up to a GTR, and suddenly we're working on that car, or they're upgrading. So we did a test run last year. We brought 10 cars down, 10 of our customers, and we show up with our race trailer and we run support. And over the next, let's say, 3 months, we sold $50,000 in product and service.
Wow, just to those customers?
Just to those 10 guys.
Wow.
And we built 2 EVOs. We did a bunch of work on GTRs, and we're going to push that again this year and do maybe 15 of them. And I'm super excited about it.
15 customers or 15 separate events?
15 separate events.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about it because it's something I really like doing. And I think that the customers really catch that energy, and they really, they want to be a part of that too. And it generates new track customers for us, which are fantastic customers to have.
That's killer. That's a strategy that I like.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not love that as a customer? Or that's turning a prospect into a customer. That's letting somebody who's thinking about it, they're diving full in. Like they caught the bug full time.
So
for sure.
So check this out too. For the track, because it's a win. I like things that are win-win-win.
Absolutely.
The track has new potential members show up. We bring them to them. And so they have a fully catered day. They have like 6 hours on the track, which is crazy amount of time, right? Yeah. And they have a great experience, and maybe they become a member for the track. And the track absolutely has embraced it. It's been amazing.
So that's the kind of transaction that absolutely is a win-win-win. Customer wins. Your business wins. The track wins.
Yep.
Like, everything about that's kick-ass.
And our vendors win because, we're selling tons of product, and we're maybe putting our own product on some of those cars. Yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Oh man, I'm getting pumped. That's a good idea. Well done. Kudos, my friend.
You should implement it up there in the Northwest.
I like it. So that's a perfect segue into the next question, which is, what's the most successful method used to promote your business? And it sounds to me like that's a no-brainer.
Yes. So when we talk about promoting the business, the Thompson track days are certainly something that we do that's been hugely successful. But we use other methods too that have been very successful. We have a huge following on Facebook, and we spend some money on Facebook to really, start to have not so much push product, but be more of a relationship. Extend the relationship with our customer. Like, this is what we have on the dyno today. This is what the results are. Or check out this cool, Veris wide body GTR, or we put an HKS GT1000 in this car today. We've noticed over time in trial and error of how those, we can track the likes on things that we're doing. And, if we put a sale up, we'll get like 15 likes. If we put a picture of a GTR that we just got done and some great results, it gets 1,000 likes. Yep. And so we've been, in the beginning though, the sales stuff really did well on Facebook, but now people really want to see what's going on a day-to-day basis inside your company through Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, times have definitely changed with social media. A for sale post goes nowhere. Facebook has changed, and people have changed from what they expect to see on Facebook. It's just another ad. No matter how good the deal, really doesn't gain very much traction these days.
Right, you can basically give something away on Facebook, and you're still going to get like 5 likes.
Right.
Yeah. And with that kind of segues into forums. We used to do a ton of stuff on forums. The forums have kind of died, and really these Facebook groups have been where we want to reside on a day-to-day basis with our sales guys, because we're in a relationship business, right? And Facebook really allows us to have a better relationship with our customers, whereas a forum is more of cut and dry. It used to be that, that's where I kind of grew up in this business, is on the forums and answering questions and, posting pictures about builds and stuff like that. But it seems that Facebook is kind of taking that over big time.
Right.
You can get easy, I guess I would say on let's say large, like if you have a huge project and you want to get all the pictures and like a build sheet out there, forums are probably where you want to do that. But on the day-to-day, talking to a customer and, hey, you might want to think about this fuel pump, or maybe you want to think about this upper and air cooler pipe. Certainly Facebook is where it's at. And we've put a lot of effort into that in promoting our business.
So how much time do you devote to Facebook on a daily basis? And do you have multiple guys that are in charge or able to post on behalf of Kaizen Tuning?
Yep. So we've got 4 salespeople here. And I spend way too much time on Facebook. If I spent an hour a day on Facebook, I still think it's too much time because I get sucked into it. And sometimes it feels like it's sucking my soul out.
I feel the same way. I recently found something that's quite interesting. It's a program called Newsfeed Eradicator, and it will literally block out your newsfeed so that when you log into Facebook, you can just get done what you want to get done. You can just go right to your Facebook group without, that catches my eye, and you watch the video, and then you keep scrolling, and then 30 minutes has gone by, and you're like, I've done nothing. What am I doing in this time suck?
Right.
So this program called Newsfeed Eradicator is pretty interesting.
Badass. I'm writing that down right now. Because last night I was having dinner with one of my employees, and we're having a great conversation about business, and we're both into Facebook quite a bit, and I'm like, oh my God, I look down at my phone and it's 45 new events or something like that. I'm like, here we go. What did I miss now?
Right.
So
you've been tagged in 50 different people. Or now what?
Because I own a tuning shop, and my guys are salespeople here. Every time you pop into a group and you make a comment, you get 1,000 new Facebook friends requests. And people always laugh at me because I'm like, check this out. I made one post and there's 15 friend requests in here. People I have no idea who they are. And that's, again, it's a time suck. Do I want those people to have access to my life? Do I want those people looking at pictures of my daughter? Or weird stuff like that. That's something that you got to ask yourself. You don't have to ask that on the forum, but you do have to ask it when they have access to your personal information.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, the relationship people have now and the crossover between personal and business, and kind of how it's hard to separate those two things, especially on Facebook.
I suck at it. I really do. I suck at it. My wife, I'll be at dinner with my wife, and something will come up on Facebook, some drama or something like that, and I'll be at dinner with her, and she'll be like, "What are you doing?" It's like, the wrong.
I used to be a slave to Facebook. I'll be totally honest with you, but just recently, I'm kind of getting over the hump where I'm not addicted to, replying right away or whatever. I'm responsible in the fact that I'll reply to every message that I get. But when I go out to dinner with my wife on a Friday night, my phone doesn't even come with me anymore.
Yeah.
I'm that over it.
That's a huge thing, I think, for somebody that's getting into this business too. Because at some point you have to realize that your time is your time, and unless someone's paying for your time, you don't really need to be talking to them.
It's tough to make that judgment call.
It is, because they Facebook message you, I've got a problem, and you're out with your friends or something like that, and then you're having to dictate time on a weekend or at 3:00 in the morning to this problem that you'd rather be spending your time with your family. And I've been caught myself with having to kind of dive into the conversation with my wife. It's like, she's like, hey, you only go around once, and you're missing time with your daughter, over some Facebook bullshit. Which one is more important, Scott? And it's like, you're right.
Yep. I'm 100% on board. Like, if it's the wrong time and place, I won't do it. But I do make the commitment to respond to each and every message that I get. It just may not happen this moment.
Yep. You need to do it on your own time. When because sometimes you just don't have your head in the right spot to be responding to somebody.
It's true.
And you'll make a mistake. I've done it. And then you have to kind of repair it.
Right. Scott, do you try and do everything yourself? Tell us about your day-to-day, like when Scott wakes up in the morning and goes to work. What is it that you do throughout the day?
So I'm not the tuner, nor am I the fabricator or technician. I hire people that are smarter than me to do the things I need them to do. And I am the facilitator here. So I put the systems in place so that Kaizen Tuning runs smoothly. I don't work on cars. I work with customers, and I do sales and marketing of our business, and help with where we're going to spend our money, and work with our vendors and manufacturers to push our agenda and push our relationships further. That's what my job is here. As president of Kaizen Tuning, my job is not to have my hands in a car. It's not to be tuning a car. Because I learned early on, watching other people's businesses, that it's really hard to run your business from when you're sitting on a dyno, or it's hard to learn. It's hard to run your business and answer the phone and do the accounting when you're underneath the car. And I think that has something to do with our really quick growth, is that my guys are concentrating on what their job is at hand. My tuner concentrates on, doing great tunes and putting out great results, and my technicians and fabricators are putting out great product with our name on it. And I'm facilitating with the customers. So we kind of work on each other's strengths. Nice.
You put the right people in the right places.
You have to do that. And you have to find those right people too. And that's part of the problem with this business.
It's hard. It's hard in our industry. A lot of people are the jack of all trades type, trying to do everything themselves, myself included. It's been a thing that I've struggled with for years, and am realizing, look, it's naive to think that one person can do everything, unless you want to be, unless the type of business that you have or the size of the business that you have is, is, I guess, relatively small, because one person isn't scalable, because the only thing that you can do to grow is work more hours. So there's limited time in a day and limited days in a lifetime.
You got it. So if you're a one-man shop, man, you better be good at the one or two things that you're going to have time to do during the day. Because you're going to be answering the phone and tuning cars and wrenching on things and doing the accounting and having to pull cars in and out of your own shop. There's not going to be much time left to make mistakes. So when I started my business, the first thing I did was hire a technician, because I knew that, number one, I wasn't the best technician in the world, and number two, I wanted to be on the front end of the business and selling to customers and, advising them on the right way to go, and have somebody really concentrating on putting out great product with our name on it so that we could grow our business.
Scott, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal for Kaizen Tuning and yourself?
Our big goal here is to grow our brand. We want to be the destination shop on the East Coast. What I mean by destination shop is I want enthusiasts to come from New York and Canada and Pennsylvania to drive up here and experience what we have to experience. I want my name to be valuable. And, I don't want to grow my business size-wise much bigger than it is right now. But I do want my brand to be the gold standard. I think that's my big goal.
A destination shop where people from out of state would come just to experience it.
Right.
Like West Coast Chopper, for example.
So
something like that.
So we offer, we've got a fairly large showroom here, and we make it super nice for our customers to come in, interact with our salespeople, maybe watch some TV or play some Xbox. We've got GoPro cameras here. We've got spy eyewear, kind of sell the whole tuner car lifestyle, and give them a reason to come back and do business with you. Because they like spending time here, they like interacting with us, and that's what an enthusiast destination shop is all about.
So Scott, we like to take action on Do It for a Living. Can you suggest one action item to our listeners that they can do this week to improve their situation?
Totally. My big thing is I'm all about relationships, and I would recommend someone that's listening to this show to pick up the phone and talk to one of your suppliers, and further your relationship with one of your suppliers, because they are a great resource in the industry. They're talking to a ton of people every day, doing what you're doing, and maybe they can give you a tip, or maybe they can tell you about what a competitor's doing, or maybe through a better business relationship, you can find out a product that's going to work really well for a project that you have in that you're having trouble with. Our suppliers are a huge resource for us, and I don't think a lot of shops leverage that hard enough.
So pick up the phone and call a supplier and just touch base.
Touch base, or even better, go to PRI and meet them in person. And push that relationship to the next level like you would with a customer, because they are, those guys that are providing you parts and sometimes services are hugely important to your business, whether it's the guy that's building your motors, maybe the guy that's building transmissions for you, or maybe it's the guy that's selling you dynos. You're going to pick up something from those people and learn from it.
It's really great advice. If you didn't catch that, pick up the phone, call a vendor, and just touch base. Go see him at PRI, meet him in person, shake their hand, buy him a drink. Those relationships are huge.
They are huge.
The people that you meet at the track, the people that you meet at events, that's everything. I could tell you story after story of how that's helped my business.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's pushed our business forward, with, me traveling Japan and going to meet HKS in person. We have a super duper relationship with one of the largest international tuning companies in the world, because we actually took the time to go over there and say hi, and learn from them, and have them impart a little bit of knowledge on us. It's huge.
Soak that up, because that's the truth. All right, Scott, I'm going to transition now to quick answer questions. I'm going to fire these things at you, try to answer them just quickly without diving in too deep. Is that fair?
Oh, man. I've been diving in deep the whole way here. It's going to be hard to transition. Go for it. All right, let's do it.
So tell us about a game-changing product that you've seen in the last year.
So 3D printing is going to be a game-changing product to our industry.
Perfect.
And there's one of those companies that I found that has been really different than the rest, and that company is called Markforged. The problem with
what was it?
Markforged, 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 and they are a small company. But the problem with 3D printed products, right, is that they are just prototypes, and you really can't use them. Markforged actually is able to impregnate things like carbon fiber and Kevlar into the products that they're printing. So you can actually use those parts in your products, or maybe race car applications where you need one of those or three of these. It's the first one that I've seen outside of like metal printing products that you can actually go and use those products. Let's say if you've got a CNC mill and you need to make new soft jaws, you can print those with Kevlar, and they're going to be incredible. You're not going to have to spend the money or the time to CNC machine out your new soft jaws. Really, really cool product.
So it'll impregnate carbon fiber strand.
Yep, it'll print the carbon fiber strand inside the product.
Oh.
Or Kevlar or carbon fiber, and weave those into the product. So think about like wing bases and stuff like that never are right from a manufacturer. You could print those and make them right and make them strong.
Mark Forge, still check that out.
The other really game-changing product I see out there is inexpensive multi-axis machine centers and lathes. Obviously, my background's with CNC, and I see a lot of 5-axis machine centers becoming cheaper and cheaper and more and easier for shops like us to get into. Maybe it's not for everybody, but those, I'm seeing the price of entry, the sort of price entry point become lower and lower for those types of machines, and it's fantastic.
It is pretty powerful where we're at right now as far as technology. A lot of really high-end hardware packages for CNC and 3D printers are so inexpensive now that the barrier to entry is low.
Yep.
So that kind of has the positive is you can get into it for relatively cheap. The negative to it is that everybody can get into it for relatively cheap. So
right.
The competition is higher. There's a lot of those people out there. So your product has to be differentiated because access to these machines is pretty easy to get into. Relative to 10 years ago.
My advice is that to somebody that's going to be getting into that is don't just buy another Haas 3-axis machine. Go out there and buy something that's going to set you apart from your competition and give you capability that's going to take you to the next level. And those 5-axis machines and now you can get a milling machine inside your lathe, multitasking stuff. All those prices are coming down. That's what's going to set you apart and make you successful.
Scott, what software program are you using daily?
So I use Google Calendar a lot. I'm in QuickBooks constantly, Facebook, and Rike for our project management.
Talk to me about Rike. How included? Who in your organization is doing data entry and receiving Rike alerts?
So we actually have a sort of sales meeting, and the sales guys are doing the data entry with me. And so the person that's selling the job is usually the person that's putting the data in. And then we assign the tasks throughout the entire company through that meeting. So we'll assign purchasing to go ahead and buy these parts on this date. And we'll assign reminders to technicians that, it's time to pick up the transmission, start working on it, or maybe send it to a subcontractor. We'll be doing that in a meeting all together. And we'll use.
So when a project comes in, you guys will all get together, powwow about what needs to happen, and then one person will do the data entry into Rike, and then the project is broken up into tasks, and those tasks get alerted to who is responsible for that portion.
That's correct. And I'm pretty psyched about this because I learned about Rike through you and your show. We used to run all of our projects through a whiteboard that would reside in my office, and at our weekly meeting, we'd go through it.
A physical whiteboard.
Physical whiteboard. And now because we're getting more and more of these long-term projects, big GTR builds and big EVO builds, that it was becoming out of hand, and my writing was becoming smaller and smaller on the whiteboard. that we needed to put some kind of software in place. And when I heard Tony from T1 and you talking about Reich, I'm like, I need to look at that. And so I did, and I implemented it in the business.
We're going to have to talk in the future about how that's working. Very much. We'll have to touch base end of this year and talk further about that. I'm super curious about long-term project management. I'm super geeking out, and we're in love with that stuff too. Like, that's the thing that's getting me pumped, is accurate project management with deadlines that we actually hit. Yeah, I love it. Love it.
It's been a big help to our business, and we're just in the infancy of getting and learning about it.
Yeah.
But I would tell somebody that's getting into this business that they should do it certainly before I got involved with it. That's something that is going to increase your bandwidth through your shop for sure.
Awesome. How about a favorite app that you're using daily? Do you have an app that we don't know about that you're using that helps you out?
Yes.
Impart some knowledge on us, my friend.
So one of our big problems here is finding people. And so there's an app called ZipRecruiter.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it.
And they have an app out there that makes it really easy when, you put the link out there for, people to apply. Their resume is all in one spot, and you can rank them internally. Or if you want to, contact them again and ask them for more information, you can do that right through the app as well. It's been really helpful for me finding technicians, and because usually we'll get about 60 applicants or so when we put something out there, and it allows me to eliminate the guys that I don't think are going to be, going to be able to do the job, and write them a nice kind of form letter to say thank you for applying, but we don't feel that you're qualified for it, because I like to touch every person that contacts us, because someday that guy might be someone you want to bring in.
Nice.
And you can't really do that with things like Monster.com. It doesn't have the tools that you need, at least I need, when it comes to bringing in new applicants.
Good stuff. Scott, what's your favorite shop tool, or your tech's favorite shop tool?
Absolutely. My favorite shop tool is the Bridgeport. I love that thing, and I think that everyone in my shop...
Manual mill?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Brings me back to my roots, and every time I'm on that thing, the whole shop is looking at me with a big smile on my face, because I love making stuff on it, and I just love the visceral feel of cutting metal on that thing.
Is it all manual? You have power feed X and Y and DRO?
It's got a crappy power feed and X, and I never use it.
Okay.
I'm manual everything. It's got a little DRO on it.
Old school.
Old school. I love that thing. I really do. And literally, if I'm having a bad day, I'll go make something on the Bridgeport and get my mind at ease, because that's like my zen spot in the shop.
Nice. Man, to end this conversation, Scott, what do you think the future of automotive performance is?
I really think that the future of our industry is going to reside in things like the new NSX and the McLaren P1. The cars are becoming faster with technology, electric, hybrid, super complex stuff. Like the NSX has got a twin turbo V6 with electric motors running the front wheels, and a KERS assisting the rear, and I think that's where we are going as an industry, is learning how to tune a car like that, and because we've been so it's been internal combustion engine forever, and now us tuners and us tuning companies need to learn how to integrate these electric motors in cars. And I really think that in the next 15 years is where our business is going to be.
With the new NSX, are you guys getting on board?
We're talking about it internally. If that is going to be something that we're going to be able to tackle when that car is released. We want to make a good, solid business decision. And everything's a gamble when it comes to a car like that. We don't currently work on Hondas here. And that car is, I guess, it's totally different than everything else in the market anyway. So it might be a good place for us to put our toe in. But we're certainly talking about it internally that, cars like that, and we know the new GTR will probably be very similar to that car. So we have to get on board with it. Otherwise, because, in 15 years, down the road, what kind of market share are those kind of cars going to have when it comes to cars that go to the track? It's going to be pretty high.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be in from the ground level.
Absolutely. We heard Martin from AMS that he took a gamble on the GTR, and look where he is today. And that's an inspiration for all of us that, we see things changing. It's time for a gamble.
I like it. I like it. Scott, how do we connect with you and your company?
So we have a website, www.kaizentuning.com. We also have Facebook, which is pretty popular at www.facebook.com/Kaizen Tuning. We have an Instagram at Kaizen Tuning and a Twitter at Kaizen Tuning. But we haven't talked about one thing, sir, and that's our name.
How did you come up with that glorious name?
We have to talk about this. Obviously,
I love that name. What's a killer name?
It's a killer name. So when we started the business, I come from a manufacturing background, and Kaizen is something that obviously is huge in manufacturing, especially in automotive manufacturing, where you're taking one small step to improve things every day, versus doing one big thing during the year and you're not going to get as good of a result. So what better way to describe a tuning company than doing small things to make an improvement? And that's where our name came out of. And then probably about 2.5 years into it, I found out about this guy on the West Coast that had a very similar name. And, I think we found out because like a Cobb access bar or something got drop shipped to you by accident because we have a similar name.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's how our name came about is, it's a manufacturing philosophy. That's a piece of who I am. And, it fit our business and it, as soon as it got brought up, that was the name that we kept.
I love it. Kaizen means continuous improvement to me. I've read about Kaizen's injection into Toyota and what it means to Toyota and their manufacturing. And I came across the word Kaizen when I was 19. I'm in college and I'm reading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Still to this day is the Bible for me.
It's a great book. Absolutely. And
that word just really resonated with me and that concept and what it meant. And I love it. It's, if you look into Toyota, they'll talk about lean manufacturing and the Kaizen principle. And so it's not just a name, right? And, I was really interested in naming a business a little bit more creatively than my name and then tuning, right?
It is something in this industry. It's like ABC tuning. Wow. Or my nickname tuning.
It's not creative enough. I'm not impressed by that.
Yeah, we came at it from the same place then. It's pretty neat that it carried a similar resonance through the two of us.
Yep. Well, kudos to that killer name, Scott.
You too, Reed. Awesome.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Good stuff today. I think a lot of value in today's conversation. So take what you heard and go do something with it.
Thanks, Reed. Thanks for the opportunity to be on this, and thank you so much for doing this for the industry because I know it's helped me with my business, and I'm sure it's going to help other people with theirs.
Nice. Thank you so much.
You bet, man.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app, tap the subscribe button, When you subscribe, you help us gain momentum and attract more high-level guests. Thanks for listening, and good luck.